p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 o'clock where I am, and various times elsewhere. We're about to start another episode of the Never Again Live podcast. Let me give you all a couple of minutes to tune in on Twitter or Facebook or YouTube or anywhere else, or on our website at israelnow.ca. Give us a minute to get situated. Without any further ado, I'm going to sign off for now, but I'll see you all a little bit later, and we're going to bring our Mayor and Ryan on the screen. It is a special report this evening, and as I said, we'll have Mayor Weinstein and Ryan Bellerose, as well as me over in the corner here, working from the studio. Without any further ado, let's bring on the guys, and I'll see you all a little later.
Hi, good evening, everyone. There's a lot going on right now in the world in terms of anti-Semitism, virulent anti-Semitism, masking as criticism of Israel. But we're taking the mask off, and we're showing we're not the only ones taking the mask off those anti-Semites out there, those Jew haters. But there's others also that are doing good work. I want to say one thing right now from the get-go, because I don't want to forget this, but in England, Joseph Cohen went into the concert that Roger Waters was performing in, that certified Jew hater. So Joseph Cohen went in there with a few other of his supporters, and they unfurled Israeli flags. They were immediately taken out, but that's what is needed when confronting anti-Semites. You have to go, you have to stand up to them toe-to-toe and speak the truth, and never back down, never ever back down. There's, like I said, there's a lot going on. There's Roger Waters with his anti-Semitism performing in Europe, in Germany, in England, in other countries as well. And he's not backing down. Period. He's wearing a what looks to be a Nazi uniform. He's giving speeches comparing Israel to Nazi Germany. He is calling for the elimination of Israel, the destruction of Israel. He considers terrorist organizations, terrorist groups, to be freedom fighters. He is trying to lecture Germans that they shouldn't feel guilty anymore about the Holocaust. And basically, he's telling Jews to shut up. And you know nothing about anti-Semitism, and he's the expert. Well, he's a Jew hater. He associates with other Jew haters. The entire BDS infrastructure is composed of Jew haters. That's one thing we're going to be talking about tonight about Roger Waters, because there's going to be a performance going on, an exhibit at the CUNY, the Canadian National Exhibition in Toronto, at the Better Living Center, starting June 16th. Whoever wants to join me going there and confronting this hate, please join me, because let me just read something from the promo for that event, the Pink Floyd event. At the exhibition. Who better to lead visitors through the creative history of one of the most groundbreaking musical groups of the era than the music and voices of past and present members of Pink Floyd, including Roger Waters. That's what they put on their website to promote this. And Roger Waters is a certified Jew hater. We're also going to be talking about CUNY, law school in New York, where an anti-Semite gets up to give a commencement speech and spews nothing but violent anti-Semitism, and her supporters are calling for the university to expel Jews, quote, quote, Zionists, professors and students who are Jews. So that's another thing to talk about. Another thing we're going to be talking about is that the Biden administration, the White House, convened a meeting. They had a press conference, in fact, just over a week ago, where they're focusing on anti-Semitism. And they pretty much reject the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. And they have caved in to the BDS definition of anti-Semitism, which allows you to call for the destruction of Israel. So they have embraced organizations such as CARE in the United States, which calls for the elimination of Israel, which promotes the anti-Semitic BDS. And also, last but not least, there's a conference going on. We've spoke about a conference last year that was in July. I believe the July 1st weekend. Well, there's another conference coming up put on by the Muslim Association of Canada, same organization that promoted the other one. And they are bringing, again, some notorious Jew haters to speak here in Toronto and spread their poisonous anti-Semitism. One of the speakers, Hatem Bazem. But so let me first welcome Ryan. Ryan, how are you doing?
Hey, Mayor, I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. And you came back from Israel. You had a great time in Israel.
Oh, yeah, it was awesome. Had a great trip.
It's phenomenal. Before we get into the issues, Gary put together a short video on the topics that we're going to be talking about, and then we could discuss it in depth. So if our director
okay, momentarily, I'm going to take over with some videos. Hope it's loud and clear. You can see the videos. It was put together in a hurry, but it's a lot of information to absorb. We can stop it periodically if Mayor or if Ryan, if you have a comment. Otherwise, I'll go through it. It's about 10 minutes long, so we're going to take it away.
Okay.
As we mentioned, this is a special report, and we do have our guests with us this evening, Ryan, as well as our host, Mayor. And there's a lot of stuff going on, as Mayor mentioned. First and foremost, the White House, which talks about how they're going to fight anti-Semitism, goes and refuses to accept the IHRA definition, which has been accepted by countries all over the world, a lot less Western civilizations than the United States of America. So that's one issue, which we've mentioned. Also in New York City, the CUNY Law School valedictorian address was blatantly anti-Semitic. We'll talk about that a little more. And at the same time, Berlin is giving a platform. Berlin, of all places, in Germany, home of the Holocaust, is giving a forum to a known Jew hater to speak. And if that's not enough, in Toronto, the Muslim Association of Canada is welcoming, once again, Israel hater and terrorist supporting guests, including Hatem Bazem, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. I guess no one's surprised about Biden's move to reject the IHRA definition, so we'll leave that kind of for later. But I am somewhat surprised by the fact that the speech given at CUNY, which, by the way, CUNY is the City University of New York, a hate speech, which was submitted and approved by the administration, which includes Dean Seddy and President Wu. Well, not only did they approve it beforehand, but they gave congratulations to the speaker when she finished. There's the dean congratulating the anti-Semitic terrorist speaker. And there we have none other than Frank Wu at a Stand Up for Jewish Hate conference sponsored by CUNY New York. And then they go and they blatantly badmouth Jews, Zionists, and approve her speech. Embarrassing. What's particularly interesting about this particular conquest that we're discussing is that she said in the past, may every Zionist burn in the hottest pit of hell. That's the graduate of the law school in New York. Why is this particularly pertinent? These are some past graduates of CUNY, okay? Jewish Nobel Prize winners, Julius Axelrod at 33, then in 1940, 37, 35. So throughout the history of the City University of New York Law School and college in general, we've had all of these Nobel Prize laureates, many Zionists, all Jews, who graduated from that very college. Can absorb that a minute. And then not only that, but other known graduates include Eli Wallach, Edward G. Robinson, Adrian Brody, Carole King, Jerry Seinfeld, Simon Garfunkel, all attended the college, which has now become anti-Semitic. And of course, there's one more I wanted to mention who finished CUNY in 1973. That was me. Okay, so that's the story for another time, but it is a personal offense to me since I attended CUNY.
A 2005 call from Palestinian civil society, social movements, activists around the world have created the campaign for boycott, divestment and sanctions. And I support it wholeheartedly.
What a surprise. He still supports it wholeheartedly.
The leaders of Hamas have made their position clear over and over again. It is this: Hamas is open to permanent peace with Israel.
What? Okay, guys, do you want to make a quick comment before I go on with more Roger Waters?
Yeah, Ryan, should we believe him?
I mean, yeah, you know what? I got lots to say, but I'll save it for when the video is done.
Okay, then we'll do some more Rogers for entertainment value.
Because these people, AIPAC and ADL, and the other extremist Jewish lobby organization, or Israeli lobby, I shouldn't say Jewish lobby organization, or Israeli lobby, I shouldn't say Jewish lobby.
Get the point? Let's move along with some more Roger. Now remember, we have to hold him to his word, because as he says, he's a very honest guy, and he feels very bad about these false accusations. Roger, anything else to say about Hamas?
If we shout the lie loud enough, Roger Waters is an anti-Semite. We'll be
let's
all
back
right.
this up a little.
Israeli lobby, I shouldn't say Jewish.
We can vilify him, we can probably destroy him, and we will get him in the end. Well, no, you won't. Clearly, well, you can hear it in my voice. Clearly, I'm upset beyond all measure to be called these names. They're deeply, deeply, deeply insulting. Not
It's not deeply, but deeply, deeply, deeply. That's really deep.
Not just to me, but to my family. The idea, even if you disagree with my politics, that I should not be allowed to speak. The MP in Manchester, he doesn't know me from Adam. He has no idea who I am. He doesn't think about it. He doesn't think, hang on a minute, isn't he that bloke who wrote all those songs when he was in Pink Floyd? There's a slow, creeping genocide being perpetrated upon the people of Palestine. This is why I'm being vilified. The Israeli government sees me as an existential threat.
Do you think he has some delusions of grandeur?
Delusions
to their
of adequacy.
settler colonialist racist apartheid regime. That is why now. And they've done everything that they can think of to discredit me.
If he thinks we've done everything we can think of, then he doesn't know Mossad very well.
And try and destroy my career, and if possible, destroy me and my family. And it's unconscionable the way they treat. And they kill them. They just openly kill them. They shoot them all the time, dead. When I see...
How can they shoot them all the time dead? If you can shoot them dead, you can shoot them one time. I mean, I don't get his whole reasoning.
The army of thugs with their blue and white flags storming through the old city of Jerusalem on Flag Day, beating up any Palestinian who dares to be in their own street. Saw apartheid in action, even if it was just the roads. Wow, this is weird, as well. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's for Jews only. Don't be daft. Yeah, it is. You can't go on this road if you're not a Jew.
What is he talking about? You guys, weren't you recently in Israel? Are there roads where only Jews are allowed? Mayor, you
No. Israeli citizens could travel on any road, anywhere, except in the areas that are controlled by the Palestinian Authority, because you might get killed.
Fucking hell, imagine you live in England and you can't go up the M1 unless you're a Christian. It's so alien to everything
Yeah.
that we claim to believe in. The
can't
guards at
believe
all the crossings and placings you have to go to, who are all about 10 years old. And even me, there I am with my British passport, because we were in UN vehicles, we were treated like they didn't quite spit on us.
Maybe they should have. Now, here's the reality.
Like, where does he come up with this shit?
Well, he must have read these signs wrong, because to me, they say entrance for Israeli citizens is dangerous. It doesn't say that, only Jews. It says no Jew. It says no Israelis. And of course, Israelis means, a lot of Jews, but also means Christians, Muslims, Sheiks, Hindus, Baha'is. This is dangerous to any Israeli citizen. Now, where's the apartheid?
I made a ton of videos while I was there. Purposefully, I would say, like, oh, look, a whole bunch of Arab families at the beach in Nahariya, like
Right.
apartheid, I guess, right? Like they clearly were so deathly afraid.
Well, this one even goes to say that Israeli citizens forbidden, and it's dangerous to your lives.
Yeah.
I mean, anyway, let's close up a little more, Roger, then I'll give you all the screen.
One second. So Ryan, you're in Israel. You're not Jewish. And you're traveling on roads wherever you want to go.
Yep.
Except in areas controlled by the Palestinian Authority that has these signs saying you might get killed. And you're traveling on all the roads that Israel.
I went everywhere, and I went all over the PA. And here's the thing: as long as I was with an Arab with a PA license plate, I could go anywhere.
Right. Okay.
So this nonsense about how he was traveling with UN vehicles and they were going to spit on him. It's like, piss off. That never happened.
Right.
Like, it's just, the lies that are spread here. It's so frustrating for me because I was there for almost a month and a half.
Yeah.
And like you said, I went everywhere. There's no apartheid roads. Like, you see Arabs all over the place in Israel. They go anywhere they want. Israeli Arabs, they can go anywhere they want. They don't obviously have any fear. Like, it's ridiculous. It's such a it's a non-argument.
Am I going to keep attacking the state of Israel and its policies in the West Bank and in Gaza? Yes, I am. And I will until the day I die. Or they modify their position to give human rights to the indigenous people of all the lands between the Jordan River and the sea. It's really simple.
He doesn't even know what indigenous means.
Okay.
From the river to the sea. What does that mean?
Get you guys back on, and later, tell me when. I'll play some videos about the Muslim, the Canadian conference. But let's talk about Roger a little bit now. I'm going to chime off and put you guys on.
Yeah, so Ryan, like the definition of who is an anti-Semite. So let's look at Roger Waters for a moment since we're talking about him. Okay, so he dresses up in what appears to be a Nazi uniform. Okay, then he starts saying that Israel has no right to exist and it should be destroyed. Then he starts saying that Germans should not feel guilty about the Holocaust. This is taking place in Germany. And then he says Israel has roads only for Jews, etc., etc., etc. Is this the definition of an anti-Semite?
Oh yeah, I mean, like Roger Waters. This is the thing, and we have to be careful about the Pink Floyd stuff too. And I'll say why. Mm-hmm. Even his former bandmate David Gilmour and his wife have both called out Waters for his anti-Semitism. They've both said that categorically, like there's a reason he's not part of the band anymore, right?
Right.
Like when your own peers are telling you, dude, you're an anti-Semite. Yeah. I mean, Nick Cave went to Israel and Waters tried to shame him into not going, and Nick Cave just told him off. And he's like, who are you to tell me not to go to Israel? Right. Yeah. There's a lot of like David Draymond, all these major figures in American music are basically telling Roger Waters, listen, like, we don't want to listen to your nonsense. Like, we know it's nonsense.
Yeah.
And like I said on Twitter the other day, if your cause is just, you don't have to exaggerate or tell lies. Right?
Right.
So we know, like, listen to all the nonsense, apartheid roads. And then he mentions that, the indigenous people, Palestinians aren't indigenous.
Right.
Not even by the most generous definition. They're not an indigenous people to that area. They're Arabs. They self-identify as Arabs. Arabs are indigenous to another place entirely called the Hijaz. Like, This is the kind of stuff, and you know, like guys like Roger Waters and all these people on the left, they love to hide behind words, right? They love to say, "Well, we're not anti-Semitic. We're just really pro-Palestine. We don't hate Jews. We just hate the fact that they're so mean to the Palestinians." And it's like anybody that even does like even a tiny bit of research, like he talks about this slow genocide. It must be really fucking slow because their population like quadrupled in the last 50 years.
Right.
That's a hell of a slow genocide.
Yeah.
Like, this kind of stuff, like for common, like for people that are just like, you know, that think words are important and that they matter, this kind of shit just annoys the hell out of us because it's like, even if I wasn't pro-Israel, the fact that he can just sit there and throw out such a word salad and then like try to position himself as I'm pro-human rights. I'm like, really? Because last time I checked, he was also pro-Syria. Right. You know, he's also pro-Russia.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to take a guy seriously when he talks about, you know, human rights when he literally is on the wrong side in almost every single conflict that he chooses.
He did get an endorsement from David Duke.
Oh, well, I mean, clearly he's not an anti-Semite then, right?
Of course not.
You can't make this stuff up, Mayor. Like, you can't write this. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Then my favorite was he dresses up in like a you know, a costume that's clearly supposed to evoke the SS.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, and then on top of that, like he's shooting a machine gun at, it looked like an MP-40, like a German World War II submachine gun. And then he has like inflatable pigs with his like the Star of David on them.
Right. Right.
It's like, dude, could you try any harder to be obvious?
And he's saying, I just want to show you how evil the Nazis are. And by the way, the Jews are the new Nazis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Look, it actually segues perfectly into the thing with the Biden administration, right? Like all these people hiding behind nebulous language. So you see the Biden administration, they said that they accept the IHRA definition, but then they said they also accept the nexus definition.
Right.
And the nexus definition clearly says that picking on Israel doesn't necessarily mean you're an anti-Semite, even if you're picking on Israel in a disproportionate way.
Right.
Which is literally part of the IHRA definition, which is that you can't single out Israel for, you know, like extra opprobrium. You can't like be extra harsh on Israel and then claim you're not an anti-Semite.
Yeah, right. It's very simple, the IHRA definition. It says that if your focus is only on Israel and it's double standards and triple standards, that's anti-Semitism.
Exactly.
That's it.
If anything, the IHRA definition is a little bit too wishy-washy.
Mm-hmm.
Like it needed to be a little stronger in its wording, but like now you add in this bullshit with this nexus definition, and the nexus definition literally says you can be anti-Semitic without being anti-Semitic.
Right.
It makes no sense. Like it's so stupid.
Right.
Anybody who thinks that this the Biden administration is anything but anti-Israel by this point, I mean, turn in your Zionist card, because at this point you're not paying attention. I mean, they've made
100%. And no, 100%. And you have, I think, what's her name? Erwin Kotler's daughter, who was a member of Knesset. She still speaks very well, and she lives in Israel. Mikkel Walsh Kotler, and she was interviewed by I-24 News about that very action taken by the White House on, you know, in quotes, fighting anti-Semitism. And she said she read the report in 60 pages. And in the report, there was maybe like 2 references to Israel and 1 reference to Zionism. And when you talk to Jewish advocacy organizations, the whole list, even to the Anti-Defamation League, who I'm not a big fan of the ADL, but even them, that anti-Zionism is the new anti-Semitism. And this report does not address that at all, and rolls out the red carpet for organizations that are BDS, like CARE, and Hatam Bezam's organization as well, American Muslims for Palestine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those are the groups that are attacking Jews and bringing about such virulent anti-Semitism today. And the Biden administration is embracing them, just like Joe Biden embraces people like Rashida Tlaib and says they're great for the Democratic Party, virulent anti-Semites.
Yeah, at this point, like it's hard to take anything they say seriously. I mean, they talked
Right.
about how they want to stop anti-Semitism, and then they
Yep.
involved CARE, and CARE is one of the most anti-Semitic organizations in the United States.
Right.
And we're going to talk later about that. Those, you know, look, people are gonna call us Islamophobes. They're gonna say that we're racist. But the simple truth is, you can't get past statistics and facts, and the statistics and facts show us very clearly who the majority of this anti-Semitism is coming from. And, you know, like, it used to be like we could talk very easily about anti-Semitism because it was either the far right or the far left, right?
Yeah.
And we knew that the far right were generally the ones that would be more violent because they had the crazies.
Right.
And we knew that the far left would be a lot of talk and a lot of, you know, a lot of thunder and no lightning, right?
Right.
But now what we're starting to see is left-wing anti-Semites are hiding behind anti-Zionist language constantly,
Mhm.
and they're the ones that are being violent. So you're seeing like black people in New York who are clearly not far-right white supremacists.
Right.
They're physically attacking Jews in New York City.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And meanwhile, like we're supposed to just sit around and not say anything, and we're not supposed to say, you know, oh, by the way, people like Farrakhan, or you know, like the American Muslim Association, all these different associations that are supposedly supposed to be pro-Muslim, but seem to spend a lot more of their time being anti-Jewish than pro-Muslim.
It's quite remarkable that exactly that point, 100%. That you would expect them. Yes, they're going to be spending their time working on their community, advocating for the community, making the community better, so on and so forth, et cetera, more services of different types. But no, an abundant amount of time is spent from those organizations to spread virulent anti-Semitism, and they're fixated on that. And when you point out the speakers that they bring out at conferences, and it makes it into the media even, they start trying to condemn you and say, well, you're racist, you're an Islamophobe for bringing this up. But you have people who are calling for an intifada. You have people who are calling for the destruction of Israel. You have people who are saying that Zionist professors and Zionist students should be expelled from universities. And 90% of Jews are supporters of Israel. Falls under that. And it doesn't even matter if you're a liberal Zionist or, you know, the whole spectrum. If you support Israel in any way, then you're a target for them.
Yeah. Look, it's like that woman. Remember they had that fencer on the U.S. Olympic team that was wearing a hijab, and everybody was like, oh, she's so wonderful. And then it turned out that one of her primary fundraisers was the blind imam, the guy that was literally, you know, congratulating the Islamic world on 9/11.
Right.
You know, like, at some point, I have to believe that most people are decent people. They don't support terrorism. They don't support the idea of murdering people because they're Zionists. Like that one, you know, that girl at CUNY, when you read some of her tweets, I mean, they're worse than anything people like Steven Salaida ever said. And he said some pretty rotten stuff too.
Right.
So I think like I just saw this comment about Kanye West. That's another thing. Like, I think that what we need to be doing is we need to be calling out. Yeah, we really need to be calling out anti-Semites, like, and not just like in a foolish way, but like in a calculated way.
Right.
You know, like when we see these conferences, I think like what Canary Mission does is so valuable. And we should all be doing that. We should be saying, okay, here's their list of the speakers they're bringing in. Let's find out what these people actually say when they think no one's watching. So when they do their Arabic language tweets, right, and they say totally different things than they say in English, we need to start exposing that. And these organizations that are so busy collecting donations, maybe they should start putting some money into translators. They should start putting some money into getting these videos, because right now, as far as I'm aware, I think Camera is probably the only organization I know that does a lot of the Arabic language translations.
And memory,
and memory, memories,
right. But look, last summer we put out the information about the Muslim Association of Canada conference. And created a stir. Got traction. There's no question about it.
We need more stuff like that. Like, if you look, remember, how many times did they tell you personally? Because I know you sent more emails probably than any 10 people that I know about the stupid ass Al-Quds Day stuff.
Right.
So how many times did they promise you that they were going to do something about it?
Yeah, no kidding. Always.
And then I don't think they've ever done anything about it.
No, they haven't.
Like, it's
the
crazy.
police give them a free escort, in fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I remember the one time you and I, when I was at the Walk for Israel with you, I think it was like 3 years ago, or no, maybe 4 years ago.
Okay.
Remember they made me and you leave, and they
Yes.
told us that they weren't going to let the pro-Palestinians cause any trouble, and then as soon as
Right.
they walked us around the corner, they let those guys loose.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
what the hell?
Absolutely. It's ridiculous.
That's the kind of stuff. Like I don't know. It's frustrating.
No, 100%. So we have a clip that we're going to that will show about the Muslim Association of Canada. Their speakers, what's coming up. We have some information. If Gary in the studio could let our viewers see that.
I do have some information. You know, very quickly, since I have a minute, I need to share. There's always room for a little comic relief, right? Don't we agree with that? Okay, so while we're talking, while we're on, my cousin, whose daughter is in Seattle, just sent me this picture of a billboard, okay? And before I show it, we all know that way too many Jewish women are marrying non-Jews. However, we know that children are Jewish. But the goal, of course, is to get the husbands to convert to Judaism, right? Because then we not only have Jewish children, we have more Jews. This is a billboard, which I got 5 minutes ago, okay? Wait till you see this. You're going to love it. Again, this is in Seattle.
Wow.
My cousin Richard, just as we're speaking, he sent me this. He said, you need to put it on your show. So anyway, now that's the 30-minute mark of our show. Now I'm going to go talk a little bit, and I'll show you the videos from the conference. But I thought that was very clever.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, so here goes this, and take it away. So the Muslim American Conference, we know, has been going on for years. We've been covering it for years. And every year they have entertainment and speakers from blatant Jew haters. So it's no exception this year. And that's the group who promoted it in Canada in the past. I won't go through all their names. But just so you know, the Muslim Association of Canada donated almost $300,000 to IHRA in Canada, which went in turn and gave $14.6 million to Hamas, to Hezbollah. So, you know, this is not a good group, even before we started investigating them.
Yep.
And our favorite speaker is
There are a large number of Zionists who are engaged with Nazi Germany. Zionism accepted to be the junior partner with the anti-Semitic European powers.
Really? I didn't realize that. Okay, so that was one of the speakers, Hazi. I'm going to do this quickly. And another speaker is Salman, who says that only Islam is being attacked, as if there's no anti-Semitism.
لماذا الإسلام فقط هو الذي يهاجم؟ لا أحد يهاجم اليهودية ولا يجرؤ أحد أن يهاجم اليهودية. قليل جدا من الناس من يهاجم المسيحية ولا يوجد أحد يهاجم
Wow.
Okay, enough of that. I'm not going to dwell too long on it because you all know about it. So I'm going to take that off. I'm going to take me off and put you guys back on.
Yeah, Hatem Bazi, and he has like I'm glad when they show stuff with his voice because he has such a cartoony, nebbishy voice.
Yep.
Like he looks all scary because like he tries his best to like emulate Hitler when he does his public speaking. Like he's actually admitted to that. So like when you hear his voice and he just sounds like a weaselly little nerd, it always makes me laugh.
Right.
Just hate that guy.
Yeah, the Muslim Association of Canada gets funding from the Canadian government, from the Trudeau government. And they get a lot of recognition from the Canadian government. There may be, in fact, members of parliament attending the conference. Certainly last year there were. Ahmed Hussein, he attended, and others attended as well. And they said they were enamored to be there. They were honored to be there. And there were so many speakers at that conference last summer. There were virulent anti-Semites and other topics too, certainly that don't reflect what the Canadian government wants to get across, what they say anyways. Canadian values are liberal values, and they want to promote, I think, the month of June to be Pride Month. And the Muslim Association of Canada took on I think the provincial government last year, that in the schools they were promoting Pride, and they wanted an apology to the Muslim community about that. So, on the one hand, you got the government that's saying we want all these organizations to promote pride. On the other, and then there's supporting groups like Muslim Association of Canada in many ways, and yet the Muslim Association of Canada has nothing to do with pride in that sense when they're saying they're offended as an organization.
Look, the longer this stuff goes on, the more people are starting to actually figure out that you have a choice, right? It is actually a binary. You can support people who support Islam and who support religious Islamists who are, fundamentally, like if you're an Islamic fundamentalist, it means you believe in the tenets of Islam the way that they're expressed, and you don't believe that they should change them, right? So you have a choice then. If you're a religious Muslim, you can either be a religious Muslim or you can be a liberal. You can't be both. They are actually inimical. They do not get along. You can't support equality for women. You can't support equality for religious minorities. You can't support any of that stuff. You can't support freedom of speech. Because if you do, you're going against the tenets of Islam. And the bottom line is now a lot of Canadians are finally waking up and realizing, wait a second, like all these people that we thought were bigots and being intolerant because they were basically saying, listen, we can't allow a religion that says that you're supposed to kill someone if they leave the religion. We can't allow them to do the things that they would do if they were in charge. And the truth is, if you look at any Muslim majority country where they've implemented Sharia law, what do they do there? They kill people for leaving Islam. They basically tell women, I'm sorry, but you're worth half of a man. Like, that's just the way it is. They kill gay people. They literally throw them off of roofs or they hang them from cranes. This is not stuff that we can make up. This is stuff this is truth. It's a fact. And they're the first ones to tell you, listen, Western Muslims are always so apologetic because they live here. They live here for a reason, because they don't want to live under that stuff either. But at the same time, if push comes to shove, we know what side they're going to take. So we have to be careful with that, because the truth of the matter is we don't want our country to end up like those countries.
Right, absolutely. And in fact, that is the neighborhood where Israel lives. And Israel is amongst countries that have adopted Sharia law and extreme Islam. I don't even know if we could call it extreme Islam or just that's just the way that Islam is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they and they don't recognize the right of a Jewish state to exist in Jordan today. There was a report that there were some Jews from Eilat that wanted to go and visit Jordan, and they were searched for any religious Jewish garments that they have. And if you have it, you have to remove it. You certainly can't enter Jordan with a kippah on. And that's a country that Israel supposedly has a peace treaty with.
It's even worse. It's even worse because, like, in your own country, at your most sacred place, Jordanian Waqf has control.
Right.
And I experienced it firsthand because I went up on the Temple Mount, I think on my 5th day there.
Yeah.
I was by myself, just went up by myself. I had a t-shirt and shorts, what I generally wear all the time.
Yep. I
walked around for 2.5 hours. Nobody bothered me. I was totally fine. Took some videos, took a little picture of me giving the bird to the mosque. I basically didn't have any problems. And then a couple weeks later, I went up with a Jewish group and wearing the exact same clothes.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they told me that I had to wear a skirt to cover my legs.
Yep.
And because apparently my legs are too sexy and, I can't be flashing them around.
Right.
And then they were actually rude to us. They were following us around. And then, we were only up there for about an hour. And then one of the Jordanian Waqf guys came over and started hassling us and saying, okay, you're going to have to leave soon. And that was we still had another hour. And he's like, you're going to have to leave soon. Then the hour's up and he starts ushering us towards the exit. And I said to my friend after, he's a guide there. I don't want to name him because, I don't want to impact his business adversely. But I said to him, are they hassling us just because I'm here with Jews? And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, when I was here by myself, I never had any of these problems. And he said, yeah, part of the problem is that they want to show us who's in charge up here.
Yep.
And that's a big part of the Arab mindset. And I mean, that's in Israel. And everyone's always talking about how you guys control the Temple Mount.
Yeah.
And the simple truth is that you don't.
Yeah, listen, on that issue, it infuriates me. I do practically every week a Torah Parsha explanation where I have one of my friends from the JDL that goes up to the Temple Mount, 7:00 in the morning, Israel time, something like that anyways, 12 midnight our time, Eastern Standard Time, and goes up and gives an explanation of the Torah Parsha, the weekly portion. And it goes on for about an hour, and we're discussing the Temple Mount. And the Temple Mount is so central to Judaism, so central in Torah, that so many laws in the Torah pertain to the temple service. And the fact that Israel allows this kind of, I would use the word abomination or travesty to go on, that we can't assert ourselves properly. And I'm not talking about we got to start waving flags or anything like that, but to have a service. I mean, this is our holiest site. To have a proper Jewish service up there, and to read the Torah up there, which should be done, shouldn't be hidden in a synagogue somewhere, should be done on the Temple Mount, proper service the way it should be, and a proper program to bring thousands of Jews and thousands of friends, supporters up there to pray, to revere the place. We're not allowed. We're rushed out. You got to keep walking. Don't stand there. No, you got to keep walking. You're moving too slow. Come on, pick up the pace.
Yeah.
You kidding me?
Exactly. It's the thing that was most frustrating for me. And like I said this while I was there, and I gave one of my talks and I talked about it. The thing that's so galling is that, the liberal left and in the West here, they're always all about pluralism and, like respecting the rights of minorities and respecting the rights of religious minorities and all this other stuff, except when it comes to Jews, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous, because I did talk to somebody there, a friend of mine in Efrat, Artie Geldman. He actually, he says, listen, we would like to see it as it was written in the Torah, where the Temple Mount is a religious place where people of all faiths can come and pray, but we would have our temple and they would have their own little area. But then Jews could actually manifest an authentic Jewish identity by worshiping at the temple.
Yep.
And, but if you bring that up, then everybody's like, oh my God, like that's, you're going to cause World War III. And it's like, cause World War III by allowing Jews to have access to their most sacred place.
Right.
Like, there's something wrong there. And if it does cause World War III, I think that says more about the world than it does about Jews.
Well, it sure does. Let me add one point to that. It was pointed out to me last week. It's apparently in the so-called peace agreement between Israel and Jordan, full access, religious freedom on the Temple Mount, on that area. So it's in so when they say, when Intibar Ben Gavur or others go up there to the Temple Mount, they say, oh, you're violating the status quo. No, there's an agreement there. There's a peace agreement there. You signed it too, Jordan. You signed it. You recognize that. And we have the same rights as anyone has to go up there. And if Muslims are going up there, we have the exact same rights to go up there. And as far as restricted times that Jews are permitted to go up there, there's 2 times in the morning, 1 short time in the afternoon, not every day during the week. It's an obscenity.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It should be access 24 hours a day.
Yep.
Small groups, large groups, medium groups.
You like it's that way at all your sacred places, like the Machpelah. You guys wanted to build, like, tell me this isn't ridiculous. You wanted to build an elevator,
right,
so that people that were handicapped or elders, because there's a lot of stairs there,
right.
So you wanted to build an elevator there. So the Arabs fought that.
Yeah.
Even after the Israelis said, listen, we'll even build you one on your side for free, because we just don't want to have the hassle of you guys freaking out because we're building an elevator. And it didn't impact the building site at all. They never touched anything old.
Right.
I went there to look at it, and I got to tell you, like, this is the kind of stuff that I think, like, the people that are so anti-Israel and they're so virulently about human rights, they claim, and yet they're siding with the side that not only advocates terrorism and the murder of women and children, but is so clearly against basic human rights.
Right.
Like on what planet is being against having access for handicapped people to a sacred site? On what planet is that even acceptable, let alone something that you would support?
Right. And they finally built it after so many years. Look, in Hebron, that's supposed to be the second holiest city as far as the Jewish people are concerned, as far as the Torah is concerned. And okay, so they had the Y agreement where they divided up. This area is going to be controlled by the PA, and that area is going to be controlled by Israel. The area that's controlled by Israel, they don't even build it up properly. It needs to be built up significantly. It needs to have every amenity that you would expect in your second holiest city to be something to be really proud of. You need hotels there. You need infrastructure there. You need everything there. But what they're doing by refusing to build in such a way, they're caving into pressure, to BDS pressure.
Yeah, and
from
that's
the PA or whoever supports the PA, the anti-Israel gangs out there. They're caving into that, and they're turning a blind eye to what they should do. And in the end of it all, because the other side, the BDS, and I use that name broadly because it represents really what their mindset is, to deny the right of Israel to exist. In the end, this whole bending over backwards to appease is going to fall flat, and they're going to have to recognize reality and do exactly what I said and go on with life and build it up, because you have no choice for a lot of reasons. One, that's what Zionism is really all about. We came back to Israel to build it up, and it's our ancestral homeland. Two, we need it for our defense. We need to expand our lines, because those people out there who support the BDS, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and the whole alphabet of terror organizations, they want us dead. So we need a stronger infrastructure, and not just soldiers patrolling around, but we need to physically live there and live a successful life there. And it has to, and then we need an attractive area to come that will bring the masses there. So they need an infrastructure to really go on. So, I mean, Hebron is connected to Kiryat Arba, so they need that whole area to be built up in a major way to make this to be something proud of. So they're building up Jerusalem, and they're building up Tel Aviv, and they're building up other places throughout Israel. They need to do that there too. And I believe in the end they will, but it's a slow train.
Oh yeah. When I was there, I saw a lot of building going on in Judea and Yehuda and Shomron. So I mean, like, if you look, I think that most people are starting to realize this. But again, like, I think what we need to do is we need these people that supposedly support liberalism, that supposedly support human rights. We need them to start paying attention. And even if it's not what they like to see at the start, because all these people that are supposedly pro-Palestinian, the ones that hide behind the lefty human rights dialogue talk, right? All of the ones that do that, when you actually confront them with this stuff, they get a little bit upset. Because I mean, and I think one of the best ones is if you look at how many mosques have been built in Israel since 1985. It's like the number's insane. It's like 200 and some, right? And how many synagogues were built in the PA? Right.
Zero.
So it's like it's like, so if you're really going to be concerned about who's actually paying attention, who's doing the right stuff and who's not, at some point, like, people are going to have to start paying attention. And I think that we're doing, hopefully, maybe we'll get a few people to pay attention.
No, absolutely. Look, you know, I can't travel into places like Ramallah and just pull up to a cafe and say, I want to have a coffee, read the newspaper and have a coffee, and learn about another culture, right? I can't, unless I go maybe in a disguise. But what kind of life is that?
Exactly.
I want to go there as me. And Jews can't. So we can't have a conversation with them. So therefore, we have to carry on with, Israel has to carry on with life and do everything that's good for itself.
Yeah.
In every way.
Sorry.
Yep. So the infrastructure that's going on in Israel right now, the building is like nonstop. Jerusalem is being built up. Other cities around Jerusalem, smaller cities, are being built up in a major way. The challenges for North American Jews to start making plans to move to Israel, or at least spend a lot more time in Israel than they have in the past. And if you go there, you will see with your own eyes how magnificent Israel is. It's an unbelievable, successful, thriving country, cutting edge of technology. And as the prime minister in Israel right now said, Prime Minister Netanyahu, he wants Israel to take the lead in the new field of technology, artificial intelligence, and that's happening. But Israel has its, its challenges still. You have in the north, Hezbollah. You have in the south, Hamas. You have in Judea and Samaria, areas controlled by the PA, an assortment of terror groups, Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the Lion's Den, other organizations that continually try to and have carried out terror attacks. After these terror attacks, there are celebrations in these cities, in Ramallah and Jenin, in other places, and then they expect the Israelis to hire these very people who are either carrying out the terror attacks or celebrating the terror attacks. And they take us for fools. And some in Israel are fools that they say we should just believe them and let them in. Can't let them in. There's no logical reason.
It's tough because they do supply a large part of the labor pool, and like, actually, I was just talking about this with a friend of mine. The other thing, like, if you look, Israelis are actually pretty happy people, right? Mm-hmm. On the happiness index, I think your country is like 4th in the world right now. That's pretty good.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's also a little bit of it's not a third world country. It's more like a 2.5 world country, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed. Like right now, just from the last trip that I was on, the cost of living there has gotten really crazy. Like mm-hmm. Since the difference between the first time I went in like 2005 and now, it's worlds different. It's just so expensive. And like housing, like I'm really hoping that with all the building that they're doing and that they're focusing on building housing, even if it's over the Green Line, Jewish communities are Jewish communities on Jewish ancestral land. I don't care where the Green Line is. So I'm just happy to see that they're building housing, because a lot of these young people, young families, don't have places to live, and they shouldn't have to live in a caravan, for God's sake. You should be able to buy an affordable house. So yeah, I'm really hoping that that this Netanyahu government will make with the promises and do the stuff they said they're going to do. Maybe build the infrastructure up a little bit. I'd love to see a city built in the Negev. Right. There's a bunch of land down there, and it's a hell of a lot easier to build in the Negev than it is to build in the Judean hills, where you got to like basically blast through rock. Right. So, there's a lot of things that I'm hoping, because, we focus a lot on the conflict, and we focus a lot on all the terrorism and all the terrorists that surround them, and the BDS movement, which, let's be honest, BDS really impacts Jews in diaspora far more than it impacts Israel.
Oh, absolutely. Right.
Israeli economy is doing amazing. I mean, they're having some struggles right now, but in the last 5 years, it's been amazing.
Yes.
And BDS has done nothing to harm that.
Right.
But the problem is that BDS harms Jews here in Canada. It harms Jews in the United States. It harms Jews in Europe.
Yes.
Because it empowers anti-Semites like Roger Waters and like this idiot from CUNY.
Yep. And the organizations that the White House is embracing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like CARE. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I have a question for you, Mayor,
Yes.
real quick, because I know we're gonna have to quit pretty quick. When you were in Israel last time, what do you think the overwhelming feeling? Do you think that most Israelis are still pretty optimistic? Because that was the feeling I got. But what was the feeling you got when you were there?
Total optimism. They're enjoying life. They see the country getting more successful than ever. They're excited with the plans of the transportation now, the connecting city to city with high-speed trains. In Jerusalem, in fact, they're going to have a train station at the corner of Jaffa and King George, downtown Jerusalem, that you could get on the train there and take that to Tel Aviv, high-speed train, about half an hour.
Wow.
They see these things happening, and there's plans to connect the far north, Kiryat Shmona, with Eilat, a train going all the way through. I mean, how cool is that? And the ability for people to commute all over the place. And you mentioned earlier in Ma'ale Adumim, D City Mall. When I'm there, yeah, it's a gorgeous mall and all that, and it's pretty empty because it's that's one of the downfalls right now. It's a very new mall, pretty empty, but there's incredible plans apparently that there's going to be more direct routes and better transportation to Ma'ale Adumim from parts of Jerusalem, and they're really developing the city of Jerusalem, and they're starting to develop Ma'ale Adumim as well. So the plans, the people that I speak to, they're very excited about the plans and how things are going, the direction the country is going into. I know groups on the far left like Peace Now, and they're like having nightmares about the success of Israel, and that's a good thing. So, and the BDS, they had their chance. Various Israeli governments have offered different formulations of a so-called two-state solution. It's always been rejected, even by Ehud Olmert, that offered 97% withdrawal, Israeli withdrawal, and it was totally rejected. And I think he went up to 98% even. So it's always been rejected. There's never been any credible counter offer or anything. They don't want to live in peace with Israel. They want to live in a state of war with Israel. And therefore, most Israelis have accepted that and have accepted the fact that we have to move on. We have to get on with life, and we have to enjoy ourselves. We have one country, and we have to make it as prosperous and as beautiful as possible. And that's exactly what they're doing.
Absolutely. I got to tell you, man, that was the best part about my trip, was seeing how happy the people are. There were some really sad events that happened while I was there.
Mm-hmm.
There were some things that were just not like what happened with the D family, and just horrific terror attacks. Yet what I still found was that the overwhelming majority of people that I met were still, they were very sad about those kinds of things, and they're not afraid to talk about their grief, and yet they live their lives, and they just say, listen, that's who those people are. We're still going to be who we are, and they just move forward. And I got to tell you, it was a beautiful thing to see that even through all the hate that's directed their way, Israelis don't reflect that hate back.
Yeah, true. So when I was there, there were 4 major terror attacks that occurred in Bnei Brak, in Hadera, in Tel Aviv, and in Elad. And there are vicious attacks. And in towns like Jenin and other towns controlled by the Palestinian Authority, there were these unbelievable celebrations.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. They're glorifying murdering Jews, and they're giving out candy and cake and everything else. And I remember when the IDF went in pursuit of the terrorists into Jenin, and a stray bullet of sorts hit this Al Jazeera, probably anti-Semitic journalist, Shireen Akla.
Shireen Abu or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. So they make a big deal out of that. There's no context ever from the BDS that the IDF is in pursuit of terrorists and there's a war going on.
Yeah.
And there's
they also didn't,
both ways. And the reason they're there is because of the terrorist attacks that were going on. And in that town that they entered was nonstop celebrations of murdering Jews. So they remove all that. They say the Israelis just entered into Jenin just to murder her.
I know. Well, and then they ignored the fact too that the Arabs are on video saying we shot a soldier. He's down. He's down.
Right.
And it's like nobody thought that maybe that was the person they shot, seeing as how none of the soldiers had been wounded. It's just I don't know. I try not to let that shit get to me anymore, because I'll tell you, like, the one thing that is hard for me when I'm in Israel, like I feel like I'm sharing the weight. Because I'm there. So if something bad happens, it's more immediate. And now that I'm home, I had to take the Red Alert app off my phone, because I don't want to wake up at 3:00 in the morning worried about my friends, right?
Right.
And I think that more and more people are starting to feel more the way I do, where it's like, listen, this is not acceptable. The status quo is not tenable, and we're hoping that the government is going to do something, and we're really hoping that stuff's going to change.
Look, the vibe I get from the people there in Israel is that there's tremendous trust in the IDF. And, they probably stop 99.9% of potential attacks. And there's always that slight small percentage that's going to get through, unfortunately, but most people I talk to feel safe and comfortable there, and they go out.
Yep. 100%.
They go out. Yeah. And I found, look, as far as the price of the cost of living in Israel, the real estate is going through the roof because Israel has become extremely successful. And, Tel Aviv is, I guess, on par with places like Paris and Manhattan, and Jerusalem is not far behind. But there's other places in Israel that are affordable. So there's smaller towns that are being built, like in between, I think, Netanya and Caesarea, a little bit more inland. Is an example of a town called Harish, where it's quite affordable to purchase a condo there for nothing like the prices in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv or anything like that. And that's just one example. There's a lot of other places that are affordable. Also, the rents at a lot of places in Israel outside of those major cities is affordable. In terms of if you're coming from North America with American money or Canadian money, it is affordable. Find places to rent that anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500, $2,000 a month, reasonable, decent, nice, and cost of living in terms of food and all that. I found that the food costs less in Israel than in Toronto, actually, in terms of the kosher food, that is.
Yeah.
So I found that, and I found the restaurants to be more affordable there than also the kosher restaurants in Toronto. So I was blown away by that. I expected to see it sky high, but I was really surprised.
Yeah. Well, and the quality of the restaurants too are so amazing.
Yes.
Like there's a place in Jerusalem now. I tell all my friends to go there, Harvey's Smokehouse.
I've been there.
Yeah. He's a buddy of mine. Actually, he's from Edmonton. Right.
Oh,
and he made Aliyah, and he's he started off with a fine dining restaurant. It was one of the best places in Jerusalem, but his heart was always in making like smoked meat and comfort food.
Yeah.
So that's what he does now, and I think it's amazing. I go there all the time. Our mutual friend Michael, he loves that place too because he's a carnivore too. So
but
that's you see these places all over the place. I have another friend that opened a pizza joint in Netanya, and he's only got it's so Israeli. He's got about 12 feet, just enough room to put a pizza oven and a bar. Right? And that's what he does. They make it happen. They find a way.
Excellent. Excellent. I think I read about that person. Oh, and he's got scotch, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Eliakim. Yeah.
Great location, not far from the water.
Oh, it's beautiful. I did one of my talks there and it was amazing. Like it's right
Yep.
on the beach, just gorgeous, stunningly
Yep.
gorgeous.
Stunning. Stunning.
Well,
Well, listen, we covered a lot tonight, and we're going to have more podcasts going forward. Anyone who's viewing this, either while it's happening right now or who's going to watch it as it's being shared, remember, circle the date, June 16th. That's next week on Friday. There's going to be the Pink Floyd / Roger Waters event at the Better Living Center at the Canadian National Exhibition. And I just want to know who would like to join me going there and opposing Roger Waters. So please send us a message, an email, go to our website, israelnow.ca, get back to us. I'd like to hear from you. But anyways, thank you everyone for viewing, watching. Please share this. And thank you, Ryan Belrose, for joining us tonight. It's great always to have you.
Thanks, Matt. It's always great to be here.
Yes.
I think when we're closing, just anybody who wants to stay on, I'm going to play Hatikva, and anybody who wants to be on, listen to it. Otherwise, until next time. So, Mayor, let's close it out with that. And
Okay.
we're here. Okay.
נפש